Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is your local Tuesday Enthusiast, also known as Aiden, and I'm the crafter behind the Tuesday Enthusiast shop. Feel free to check out my coffee shop down below if you are interested in any of the crafts, but today we are focusing on setting up my 2025 bullet journal. I've been bullet journaling for a couple of years now, and I love it. This is the Leuchtturm 1917 dotted notebook in forest green, and this is my current bullet journal. It's a baby pink one. Same book though, and it's dying and dirty, so it's time to break out the other one, and we'll be referencing that throughout the video to show you what the spreads look like in action. So I have a thing to admit. I did record the audio with this video when I initially filmed it, but something bad happened, so it's gone, and I am now recording a voiceover after, so if the hand gestures don't necessarily match, that's what's happening here. On that front page, it's blank for now, and it will stay blank. I normally put a bucket list or something, but I haven't quite decided what I actually want to do with it, so it will be blank, probably, for this video. But I'll probably fill it out later. And then the index pages in the front that I flip past, I normally use as a goal planning page because I don't really use them, but I don't like wasting paper. I did take the liberty of doing this year in a glance ahead of time just because I find that it's really tedious, and this video would have been 30 minutes longer of me just literally filling out these calendars. But I love this at the front. I've put this in every single journal. It's really useful when I'm making plans or referencing the next month if there's any big events that I've booked in advance, months in advance, concerts and things, or vacations. I'm sure to include them here with I highlight the days and then put what I'm doing underneath. These two spreads are also pretty much staples in every journal. I have this meals I like page. Sometimes I forget that food is real at inopportune times, when I'm grocery shopping, for example, or if I'm planning to cook a meal for friends. When I'm planning to cook a meal for friends in the future, so then I reference this to see what I like. And also it's interesting to see how my tastes change over the years, because I always start this one fresh. But I usually do divide it into breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and I think snacks. Yeah, breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and snacks is the three categories. I don't love traditional planners. I've been bullet journaling for, 4 or 5 years now, and it's because I don't love traditional planners. My bullet journals, you will see throughout this video, are not fancy. They're pretty much just functional tools for myself, but I use them because traditional planners, I don't love their layouts. The layouts kind of suck. In comparison to my tastes, I find that there are big blocky columns, or everything is divided in a way that I don't love, and the calendars are usually really far from the weekly spreads, especially as you get on and on with your month. And I don't love that, so I've really curated my bullet journal to be a functional tool, especially with my ADHD, to make it so I can actually get things done with myself. Otherwise, time just passes. That's not cool. I don't love that. I also should mention that throughout this video I'm using a Tombo 192. It's my favorite shade of green. I had to rebuy this one because I destroyed the other one. I used it until it literally didn't make color again. And now I'm working on this first time spread. I think I've been doing this one, I think it was in my private journal where I put my thoughts or whatever for the first 3 or 4 years that I had it, but I've been wanting to move it to my bullet journal. But basically I love to see the things that I've done for the first time ever, obviously, during specific chunks of time. So this I use to mark down when and where and what I was doing for the first time ever. And then this is my like media spread. I think I'm gonna leave this one blank and fill it out in a separate video too, because I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. Normally I do like a fun little bookshelf on the books read side, and then the games played and the movies and shows watched are new. But I've been finishing a lot of video games lately, so I want to document like when I actually finished them and when I was actually playing them, so I can reference back to it if I need to while I'm talking about it or thinking about it or comparing games with myself. So that's kind of that so far. I think that's all of the front matter, and then we get right into the January stuff. So the first page is always a calendar, and I use my marker to fill out the calendar. I use the thin side of it. This is my current bullet journal with an example, ironically also in the same green, but you can see I kind of fill out the thing, I title it. I have different colors for different types of events, and I kind of change it up every month. It's not consistent, it's just whatever is prettiest. And then most importantly, on the right side, I have this little like notes column where I make notes about the month, if I have any specific feelings, if something happened, or maybe I'm just feeling a type of way, I'll put it in that little column. And it helps me kind of recall how I was feeling during that time. Yeah, but we're gonna be doing that. I have to apologize, we are in the dark. I've blocked out a specific time in my week to film this, and it's winter in Canada and it's dark as hell. So there's a big snowstorm on this day, and it was really dark in my room where I filmed these. So I'm gonna plan on putting some alt times down in my week for filming moving forward, so that hopefully we're not in the dark, or at least finding a different lighting scenario so that we're also not in the dark. I don't think I did a terrible job lighting this, but the shadows are kind of harsh. So hopefully that will not be the case. Also, I'm really shy, and this is really weird to be like yapping, because I feel like I'm just chatting with my mom or something on the phone, or like my good friends. So let me know if you like the yap. I personally love yapping. I love anything to do with yapping and crafting. I'll be in. And my pals can attest to that. But yeah, filling out a bullet journal, like I said, it serves like a functional purpose, but it also is like it's like one of the only times of the month that I really have to like focus on myself, and I kind of do like a check-in. I usually do my bullet journal setup for the following month around the midway of this month. So this video was filmed around mid-December for January, because I like to have a couple weeks of access to my new month stuff, just in case like things come up, I make plans. So 2 weeks is generally enough time for me to be able to access my spreads, put my stuff in. But also it allows me to like reflect on my monthly goals and stuff. It lets me look at my habits from my current month, see how I'm doing, if I want to change any of them, check in with my goals for myself. Am I on track? I usually set quarterly goals. Some people set annual goals, but those feel really lofty for me, so I usually pick a couple categories and fill out goals that way, and then check in with them quarterly. And then I have like monthly sub goals for each quarterly goal, if that makes sense, so that things feel a bit more actionable and like they're moving forward. And I find 365 days is way too long for me to be waiting to see the like fruits of my labor, or to see if I've like actually completed something. Whereas a 3-month goal is way more attainable. Like I noticed that I'm way more interested in working every day towards that goal, or most days, like having it be a more daily or weekly sort of habit rather than a yearly thing. Those feel like they're daunting and never ending, which is not true. The years do come and go. Also, it's just like very calming to know that it takes me about, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, if I'm feeling extra slow, an hour, to set up my bullet journal spreads. So to know that I have like 30 minutes each month that I can just dedicate to kind of sitting down. I usually listen to like a new album or something during this time and just kind of draw my things, because it's so routine at this point that I don't really have to think about the spreads. And if I do have questions about the spreads, I can reference my old spreads, which is really nice. I also definitely did make a mistake. Yeah, there it is. You can literally see the hesitation when I noticed it. They used to bother me when I made mistakes like that. Like this one, I've made 32 days in the calendar block, but like I'm a person and I'm trying to fight my perfectionism, so I actually do things with myself. So if I make a little mistake, I used to like have to wait it out, or I'd like literally glue the 2 pages together that made the calendar spread and start again. But I'm not getting those urges, at least as often anymore, and I think that's a good sign of growth. I guess we'll see. It's always there a little bit. It's whether I act on it or not. These next 2 pages are, I think, the one good thing a day is definitely one of my favorites. I started this one, I feel like midway through my first bullet journal, and it is definitely gratitude adjacent. So I think about something good that happened that day. Every day, it doesn't matter if I had like the shittiest day ever or the best day ever, I pick one thing that happened to be a good thing that day, and I write it down, and that's that. And it keeps me a bit more optimistic. I'm really good at being pessimistic if I let myself, and I'm really good at telling myself the story that like, oh, everything is bad right now, which is like generally not true. The world could be chaos, but there's probably something really good that happened to you at some point that day. So I try to focus on that. And this is, oh, my habits. I always forget that one goes with this one. This is the pair. So I have my one good thing a day and then my habit tracking directly beside it to motivate myself to actually do my habit tracking, because otherwise I won't. I'm like always excited about the one good thing a day, and then I see the habits and I'm like, well, I'm already here. I might as well write it down. The one good thing could be as simple as I spent the day in bed, as you see on the second, or maybe I finished a zine, or maybe I've like spent some time with some friends, maybe I've gone somewhere new, really anything. Sometimes I'm pretty sure I write down that my coffee was especially good that morning. Like, it does not matter what the one good thing is, but it is important to practice some sort of gratitude. And then I like to just fill out lines for every other row. I usually do the odd ones, so that I make sure that I actually fill out the right day, because I used to just leave it numbered, and then I would make the mistake of not filling out the right one, and then I would be like, well, what am I gonna fill out for tomorrow? And it would feel wrong to like flip them, even though it would be perfectly fine. And then on this habits page, I am just putting 4 standard habits that I carry every month. They're just like self-care things. I have journal, I have a 15-minute tidy at my house, less than 2 coffees, and then if I've cooked a meal that day, because I work in the food industry, or I did for a long time, and it's really easy to not cook. And then I'll fill out extra habits a bit closer to the month, just to see if any of them need to change, if I need to alter them, if I want to get rid of some of them, etc. This next spread is my mood and anxiety and my sleep trackers. I think these are really important to have together. I notice that if I don't sleep a whole lot, my mood and anxiety can be a little messed up. So it's good to like see how these things interplay with each other, and I really think they do. And I set up my mood and anxiety with like 2 mirrored bar graphs, so you'll see what I mean. Right, so we're working on my work tracker and my workouts. So back when I had this work tracker, I was working a job where I had a bunch of different shifts that paid a bunch of different rates, and I had tips in the equation, like really inconsistent hours, and I wanted to know how much money I was making, obviously. I mean, because I wasn't making salary or making a consistent paycheck or even just like working a consistent amount of hours. I wanted to know like how much I was making and to make sure I was sticking within my budget. It's really easy to like accidentally stretch beyond your means in these days especially. But now I work much more consistently. I do have a salary, so it's much less it's much less inconsistent, I suppose. It's much more consistent now. And I'm trying to get into my like big girl career, so and that's basically that. And then I leave a little space at the bottom there to just kind of summarize like how many days I worked, how many hours, if I made much tip, how was it? And then I also tend to write down, if I'm remembering to, how much I've spent that month, roughly, just to ensure my ins and outs are the same. And this spread here, the workouts, has really motivated me to take better care of my health. I noticed, like especially in my last couple years, I have a second degree. In that time, I was much more sedentary than my previous one. My classes were way longer. I just spent way more time sitting than I had ever before in my life, and that kind of became ingrained into my like daily routine. I started to like feel it. Like my back kind of started to hurt sometimes, which had never happened before. And I just felt like generally weaker than I remembered feeling. So I knew I needed to get back into fitness in some way, shape, or form, and this really helped me to do so. So I usually just make out the calendar rectangular shape. I generally do not make it all the way across the bottom. Clearly I made a little mistake this time. Oh, there I am, literally fixing it. That's hilarious. I usually go straight across the top though and then X out the missing days, like the days that were from the previous month. So if this month, for instance, started on a Wednesday, I would X out the first two. Also, I'm a Monday week start girly. No shade to the Sunday starters, but it doesn't make sense to me. Sunday is the end. Anyway, so I fill this out, and then I have these little boxes essentially that I can color in, and I've color coded the types of workouts that I like to do. I usually aim for 3 to 4 workouts a week, between 20 and 45 minutes. That's just what works for me right now. I'm planning to try to start upping this once I get a bit more consistent with it, but for now that's what I got. I find it's really easy to skip on fitness. I always was confused. I must have been a really active kid because I was always like confused when people were not keeping up with it or when they like couldn't do things like walk up the stairs without getting winded. Like I must have been built. Like I'm not like that now, obviously, but I distinctly remember wondering how people could not make time for it as a kid, and now I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not making time for it now, so obviously it's not that hard. I mean, I'm fixing the mistake here, so that's fun. But I did, obviously, not make enough space for working out historically. So I'm trying to turn that around now, especially while I still can. And this is what these kind of look like filled out. So you can see that I have like different colors for different types of workouts. And I mark if I'm ill, like I must have caught a cold or something this month. My work tracker is not that in-depth anymore, but that's how it was at this time in my life. So that's pretty nifty. Yeah, and then I put a little color dot and then write the type beside it. Now I think we might be into my weeklies. Yeah, so this is my favorite spread. I love it a lot. And it's characterized by the date and the week that it covers in the top, an entire calendar of the month with the week that it is highlighted, a little section for notes beneath that, and then running to-do lists essentially beside that in the right 2/3 of the page. And I like this setup because it's flexible enough that my to-do list can be any length but still vertical for the day, but I also only limit myself to 2/3 of a page, so I can't do too much in any given week. Like, I have to really prioritize what's important for me to be doing that week and why, because otherwise I will just spend all my time writing down little tiny things that give me little dopamine hits, and that's not great. What I need is to actually get my things done. So if I'm constantly writing down like the little tasks just to make my to-do list bigger, I will run out of space. So this is a really good combatant for that. But also it's oriented vertically the way that lists are meant to be. So I feel like it makes the most sense. Like, here it is in action. So you can see my left side week must have been a slow week. It must have been a slower week and I had less going on. I must have made a mistake on that calendar. But then you can see the second week there is a bit more busy and there's longer to-do lists and the week is highlighted. And there was some notes of things that I must have thought of the previous week or a week before or something like that I made a priority for that week. So that's what's going on there. And I do love this spread. Like, I use it all the time. I like how every day can be long or short. Some days I have 2 things on my to-do list and some days I have 11. And I can see everything that I've been doing that week or trying to do that week. And there's also space in the notes section for me to push things to the next week. Say on like Monday or Saturday, I noticed that I needed to email somebody my resume during the next business week because maybe I talked about doing so. I'm not going to send them an email on a Saturday, so I'll email them on a Monday, but I've made a note that I need to do it. Did I do it? I don't know, but it's there. And it's a reminder to do it during the appropriate times where people are doing business. Whether or not I run on that schedule or not is not my business, but other people do run on specific 9-to-5 schedules. And I mean, running an art business in my spare time outside of my work means that I'm generally not doing my work during the 9-to-5 day. So the capacity to write the notes down and then put them into my weeks is really important for me as like a small business person. Also to ensure that I'm getting all my things done that are like self-care and work related and then art related is really important to me. Like, and also still seeing my friends, still having a balanced life, like all of that's really important. So being able to see how much I'm doing and analyze if I'm doing too much one day or not enough or whatever, it's really important to me. Anyway, I think that's it for the actual filling it out. I believe I give you a little flip through here. Thank you for watching if you've stuck around this long. I enjoyed yapping to you about my bullet journal. Feel free to check out my knitting podcast if you haven't seen it yet. That's my, I think, first video ever on this channel, which is crazy. And I'll be doing something probably bullet journal or journaling or organization related once a month or so. So feel free to stick around for that. Subscribe if you liked it. And I'll definitely be filling out those media spreads and that bucket list spread at some point soon. Have a great week, and I'll see you sometime soon.